Yes, guys, we are back again. Me and Cav breaking down everything from what's come out today on Liverpool Twitter. Basically, a certain money league. Liverpool third in the money league, massive revenues, and Liverpool fans are going into meltdown. So we're going to discuss about that, guys, and why a lot of people are getting it wrong. A lot of people will get it wrong. But I hope everyone's doing well. And big up the Cav. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing very good actually, Jay. Notice you've had a clean shave. Was it
Oh
new
man, yeah.
look?
I literally did it 40 minutes ago. I looked in the mirror and thought, "Fucking hell!"
Easier just to take it all off.
That's
Yeah, I
it, man.
like it. Looking
I ain't
very
trimming.
fresh.
I couldn't
Took
bother
10
trim.
years off you, mate.
I know. I hate. I don't usually clean shave. I just usually trim and just keep
Yeah,
something. But I was like,
yeah.
oh man, I just can't be arsed. I look like a tramp. It's
You'll
getting
notice
bad.
the cold when you go out.
Yeah, I won't go out. Don't worry. I won't go. Stay
but,
indoors. Man.
but I'm doing good. Hello to everyone in the chat. Hope you're all having a good evening. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I've lost weight, and now this is too big for me. Everything's going bad,
There you go,
Right.
mate. New wardrobe.
That's it. Just find the stuff out when I was skinny.
Or if you start coming out with some mad like flare trousers and floral shirts with big collars and all of that.
Well, tomorrow you'll see me in muscle shirts and stuff like that. That's what you. Oh, be up, Pat. Who's this clean shaven man? What have you done with Jamie? That's it, man. I look like a different man. I look like a different man. You look like a hobo, Jamie. I know the hat's gone as well. It's all. I've even brushed my hair today. I haven't had my hair cut yet. I just brushed it. It's amazing what it can do when you actually look after yourself. Uh, big up, keep it level. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so guys, what we're going to do today, we are going to talk about everything about Liverpool Football Club. We're going to talk about obviously this money league where Liverpool finished third in the money league. City finished first. We'll go over that as well. But Real Madrid second. First time we've been above Man United, I believe, in 26 years, I think it said. So a lot of talk about there. And also later on, we'll get the phone lines open for you guys to call in and have your say on everything. We're going to talk about Bobby Firmino. Apparently, he's just been offered a 2.5-year deal, which he looks like he's going to accept. So we're going to talk about that, see what everyone thinks about that. Because I know there's a lot of people that are a bit upset about it, but we're going to chat about that as well. But let's get down to it, Em. Let's get down to it. The brass tacks. The brass tacks. Mo Salah got player of the month. Mo Salah got player of the month for December, just for Liverpool. Was he actually player of the month for December, Kev?
No, not in my opinion. He wasn't. No, I've got to try and remind myself now what games we played in December. So, okay, let me get the fixtures up. Remind myself before I start guessing. The game before the World Cup was that played in December?
I think we only played 2 matches.
Should have been more prepared. Right, here we go.
I think we played 2 games. Was he the best player in them 2 games?
Okay, so December. No, the Southampton game was the final game before the World Cup started, and that was on the 12th of November. So December was the World Cup, obviously, and then we played a couple of friendlies, Lyon, Milan. We came back on the 22nd of December with Man City in the EFL Cup. So league-wise, you got Aston Villa, Leicester, Brentford, Wolves, Brighton, and then obviously Wolves again, just gone. I'm trying to think who's been better, and I'm struggling. The bar isn't particularly high. That's what I would say.
Would you say Darwin's been better than Mo in December?
Yeah. I need the stats because someone's straight away going to throw stats at me, aren't they? Yeah, but then Ali, made them. See, there's been a little bit of talk about Ali recently because of the mistake against Wolves, and then some people think he wasn't great in the games. Brighton as well, but I think that's a little bit harsh.
He's had one bad game.
Yeah. Do you know what? When you asked me the initial question, does he deserve it? Straight away, my mind went to Ali. But I think I'm carrying that from the entire season up to this point, to be honest, because I don't think anyone's been good. And I think Ali's the only man that's kind of been at a level you expect from him. So that's where my mind went initially. But I've got to think back to this month. Wow, there hasn't really been anybody that stood out, has there?
No.
We're kind of clutching it. Do you know what, actually? Do you know what? The statistics probably won't tell you this, but I think the better player that's come back after the World Cup has been Trent. I think Trent's probably been the best in recent form, actually. So I would maybe have given it him. But I mean, who cares, man? I mean, just stick it in the trophy cabinet with the rest, and we'll.
Because every time I see a Standard Chartered award for so and so month, it all just seems to be Mo that gets it. And I'm now thinking, is like, does Standard Chartered watch? Because it looks like they just go, who's our most marketable player? Mo. Right, he was player of the month, so get him in front of the camera. You know, that's what it comes to look like now.
It does feel a little bit like that, yeah.
Yeah, you know when stadiums shout out there the man of the match, it's because whoever the VIPs want to see. You know, after the game, it's one of them, ain't it? It's one of them.
I'm just trying to think back to when Mo. I'm just trying to think back to the goal scorers. So, I work back through the Brentford game. No, that was January. Okay, so Leicester was the 30th of December. I'm working backwards now. 2 own goals, so no one scored in that. The Villa game, 26th of December. That was Oxlade-Chamberlain that scored in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the Man City game, which Carvalho and Salah scored in. And then you've got the Liverpool Milan game. That would have been the derby then. That would have been the friendly, sorry. Okay, so goal scorer wise, you've only got Carvalho, Salah, and Oxlade-Chamberlain to choose from. So the stats ain't going to help you particularly in this, no,
exactly
selection.
I was just thinking about it because, like I said, every time I see a Standard Chartered player of the month, it's always Mo Salah. Now they give it out every month, and I'm sure other people have won it, but I literally can't recall anyone but Mo Salah winning it.
I was trying to think who won the month before. I think that might have been Ali. I could be wrong.
Was there a photo opportunity? Because I don't remember. I only ever seen Mo with it. That's all I'm saying. And it's any conspiracy.
Do you think these players? Do you think they care? Do you think they care about monthly awards?
No, I doubt it. I very much doubt it. I think they prefer getting their new box of Adidas or Puma or whoever they're sponsored by through the door.
Yeah,
more than a monthly award. I know I would be. By the way, sponsor the channel. But I will wear that shit. Don't worry. Everywhere, man. Everywhere. Adidas, Puma, whoever. I'll take anyone. I'll take even High Tech right now. There you go.
He'll take anything at this point.
High Tech, if you're watching, I will wear your shit everywhere. Sponsor the channel. I mean it as well. Do you remember them? Do you remember when you was a kid and you go in your local market? I know I might be because I'm a bit older, but I used to go in my local market and no one could fool Nike when we was a kid, yeah? So this local market used to sell trainers called Nick.
How was that spelled? N-I-K?
Yeah. And the tick was the opposite way round.
Oh.
But everything was like in the same sort of print and format, you know.
Yeah.
But it's called Nick with a backwards tick. It was hilarious.
I tell you what though, like obviously these brands, they can be quite expensive. And you think Nike, you're going to pay a little bit of money for something that's Nike. But like literally, I went shopping. I think it was Christmas shopping, and I was buying some clothes as gifts. And I just picked up like some basic items, like a T-shirt. Literally had nothing on, just said Nike. And it was like 40, 50 quid. And I was like, for a T-shirt, it's literally just got Nike on it. Like the hoodie was like 90 quid. I was like, come on, like I'll pay it because I can't be asked to spend hours like shopping. But it is literally just a top with a Nike tick on it. Like that Nike tick could have been embroidered in any style. It just happens to be a tick, and that's what you're paying for. It's mad, really.
It is nuts. It is nuts. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Fucking sponsors. Right.
And I don't like their kits. I don't like the Nike kits.
Yeah, Nike, you're listening. Your kits are shit. You sort them out.
I don't like
But High Tech, if you're listening, sponsor the channel.
Sponsor the channel. Don't sponsor Liverpool. I am not trying to see high-tech Liverpool gear. Could you imagine?
I will wear high tech everywhere. I don't care. I'll do it. I'll do it for the money. Oh man! So other news as well with Liverpool today. So Fabrizio Romano tweeted earlier, not too long back, a couple of hours ago, that Arthur will not be having his loan terminated. So his loan will not, because there was news coming out this morning that Liverpool are looking to terminate the loan of Arthur Melo and send him back on his merry way. But apparently Fabrizio Romano is now saying that he's not going to have his loan terminated, and he's looking forward to getting back into the side after injury.
He's been back in. He was never in.
So what do you think? What do you reckon on the Arthur Melo stuff? Keep him for a body till the end of the season or send him back?
I think it's one of those, like, if we're looking to bring somebody in, then yes, he's an obvious name to sort of terminate, not kill, but like terminate the loan and free up a spot for that new body coming in. But if we're not going to sign anyone, you might as well keep him around, because we've seen players dropping like flies already this season. If that continues to the end of the season, you just don't know if you find yourself in a situation where you need him. And look, if he can, what can we expect from him? For me, if he gets fit and if he, trains with the squad enough and we're winning games and we can bring him on for the final sort of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then assess his performances in those periods. If he's good enough, then start him. But I think that's a bit of a stretch. If, like I say, I'd just be using him now for minutes off the bench if we can, because every game is going to be so important from here on in. Like there's no friendly as such. There's no gimme, and every game seems really tough for Liverpool. So I would just say in the probably few games we have for the remainder of the season where we're up by a couple of goals, 2-3 goals with half an hour to go, then I'd say chuck him on. But might as well keep him as a body and nothing more, nothing less than that, really.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd be surprised if he actually plays any sort of football at Liverpool after his injury. But yeah, it's a weird one, ain't it? It's a mad one with all that's concerned. Obviously, everyone's talking about the. So I've got it here. Right, let's get it out. So Liverpool generated over 700 million euros in 2022. Man City 731 million. Yeah, all right. Okay. Yeah, all right,
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Real Madrid 713 million. So Man City have got more supporters around the world than Liverpool and Real Madrid. Liverpool third, Man United fourth, PSG fifth. It's the first time in 26 years that Liverpool, I think it's actually the first time in the Premier League history that Liverpool have overtaken Man United in revenue costs of 701 million. But if you look at this top 10, actually, I'll share it with you on the stream. I'll share it with everyone on the stream, and I can see it for themselves. If you look at the teams in the top 14 list that they put out, the top 6 in the Premier League are all in this list, which I think goes to show the power of the Premier League, don't it? Look, even Leeds United are in this list as well. Leicester, AC Milan, Newcastle, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea. It's amazing how many English clubs, Cav, isn't it, that are in this. The money they're generating in the Premier League now.
Yeah, you probably think a lot of this, like you're alluding to, is down to sort of TV deals, and the Premier League, I think, pays out the most for its for the TV deal. The clubs being on the telly and things like that. Some of it's you look at. I'm just looking at a couple of names there, like Leicester and stuff. They have a big following with over in Thailand because of the Thai investment in King Power and all things like that. So. A lot of it is like how wide the fan base is internationally and things like that. But yeah, I think the big bumper is probably the TV deals that the English clubs get.
Yeah, if you look at the top 10, the big 6 in the Premier League are all in there. It just shows the power of the Premier League. But let's concentrate on number 3 there. Liverpool, 701.7 million euros. generated, and Liverpool fans are not taking it well, to say the least. So I saved a few comments. Got all the coming in and saying no, 75 million Casado. You could really help us this season in the next few years. Top Reds can't defend this. Fenway out. I'm buzzing. This has come out. Big up Jasmine. No excuses now. This is just pure greed and profiting. Big up John talking about Red 10 TV starting them. And that word as well. I can't say that word, Tide, because I'll get demonetized. But yeah. So people are like, right, now it's found out, we can move on. Like, they're hiding money. We got all this money. It's not profit, guys. This is the problem. The money you generate as a football club like this is not profit, because you've got to have operating costs haven't come out yet. So once Liverpool's operating costs come out and we see how much Liverpool's operating costs come out, then we can deduct how much is left from the revenue granted, guys. But as me and Cav were talking about this backstage, like we're on a show, in the green room, that it's not profit. I can understand people seeing a big number like that. Oh man, Liverpool generated 700 million. Why aren't we buying so and so and so and so? And I'm not sticking up for FSG here, guy, because I think it's time for them to go as well. But that's not profit, guys. It's not profit. That because operating costs haven't been put into that yet, has it, Cav?
Yeah, so look, let's state the obvious, right? The key word being revenue. So that's the amount of money that's come into the club over the past financial year. And as you've said, Jamie, what that doesn't tell you is how much your overhead and profit is, including salaries, including running costs, including the build for the stadium expansion. Maybe if we're still paying towards the build of the new training ground and things like this, them outgoing costs aren't included in this figure. So a lot of people, what we need is, we've got half the picture. And then after April, when the financial reports are done, we'll get the full picture. And that's what is the outgoing. And then we can start to see what the remaining is, because we've been told, and I say been told because I don't look into this, research it myself, to be honest. But over the past few years under FSG is whatever we bring in tends to go out, and FSG don't take money out of the club and pocket it. Basically, whatever the club makes and generates itself is spent on, like I say, its running costs and then player acquisition. We have to see in April if that's still the case for this year gone. And I think where fans will be upset is if they see this figure that puts them third on that list and they generate all this money, where's the money going? And if it is that the stadium expansion and, and the overhead and the wages and all of this, that uses up the 700 million, you look at it and you go, okay, fine, I can accept why we haven't then signed players, whilst thinking we probably should be working a bit more efficient, so that we are able to generate money to make transfers, if that makes sense. And then the other option is, if the money that's leaving the club, the outgoing money, isn't making up 700 million. Well, we want to see that pot of money. We want to see where that's going and why isn't it being spent on players when quite clearly we need to revamp this squad. I can see, when you look at it on the surface, I can see why some fans would be upset, because we're third on the list out of all the teams in Europe, and you got to think, why aren't we spending quite like everybody else? What are we doing wrong? It's as if there's somebody. I get the frustration, because we make as much money, if not more money, than Man United, Paris Saint-Germain, AC Milan, Inter Milan, all these clubs. Yet they still manage to sign players, and we're not. And I think that's where the frustration is coming from. So on the surface, I do see fans' frustration with it. But like I say, we probably can't get too over the top until we see the full financial reports, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, The operating costs, as Kev says, has got to come into it. In April, we'll find that out. So, they can't fiddle the books either, guys. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they go fiddle the books. Look, to be fair, like, to fiddle the books, you have to be really clever at it. And we got no one we can, we're not employing people to work in a company that the owners already own, employ people and disband that company and put that down as profit. Man City. Right, we're not doing that, right? So that's our way to fiddle the books. It's like if you don't want to pay so much tax, you can have, tax accounts in the Cayman Islands and all that sort of stuff where it's all legal and above board. It's just a bit immoral, stuff like that. But if Liverpool's operating costs are, say, 400 million this year, which leaves Liverpool a net profit of 200 million, right? I can understand people saying, hang on, there's a bit of money there, there's a bit of room, there's a bit of wiggle room to move around and buy people. If our last year, I'll put it this way, guys. Last year, this happened again last year, and I think we came 4th or 5th last year, right? Just below Man United for total revenue gross, right? And it was our highest ever. It was our record amount, and this year beats that. But last year, after the outgoings on the football club and the operating costs, we had a net profit of 65 million. And that's all we had. That was a net profit at the end of the year. So we got to wait till we see everything come out for the revenue side of it. But also with PSG, right? If PSG generate that much money, the money they generate, like 400 or 500 odd million a year through what they're doing. Don't forget, their owner also is like a trillionaire that can put their hand in their own pocket and, and subsidise no matter. It's not a problem. Same with Man City. What Liverpool, I think, need to do is that some clubs do this. Liverpool don't do this, but some clubs do this. Arsenal did it last year or the year before. They took out a loan to buy players, right? They took out bank loans to buy players to transfers, right? Because the money they were generating as a football club could cover the loans, right?
Yeah.
Liverpool get enough money revenue-wise now. It's 2 years straight now that Liverpool are breaking their revenue every single year. If anything, FSG could possibly get a loan. They could get £100 million loan quite easily. Any bank would actually give them a loan. We're debt-free, basically. We generate 700 million a year. Every bank is going to give that company a loan. There's no doubt about it, right? £100 million loan, buy some players, and the money we generate will be backed on the loan. But that's what a lot of clubs do, Cav, to buy their players. I know Arsenal did it a couple of years ago. Do you think that's a situation Liverpool could go down if FSG are going to stay at the football club?
Yeah, it could be. I think it's one of two options, right? So we got the statement back, a couple of months ago now, that the FSG are looking for an investment into the club. There was an admittance there that they didn't have the funds they felt was needed to bring the players in to generate a squad that's going to compete for league titles and Champions Leagues and stuff. So they go down that route where they relinquish some of the ownership of the club, a percentage of it, if you like, and they generate some money by the buyer coming in and having a stake. Or they can keep full control of the club, don't give up any shares, and they take a loan against the club. I think they're the two options to get sort of a quick payday loan, if you like, to spend money on bringing players in. But both come with risks. Because if you give up a certain percentage of your club, depending on what that percentage is, you have another voice in what in how you operate. And that voice might be conflicting. And FSG they've got some things right, they've got some things wrong. But what we can't deny is they've built the club, they've grown it, so to speak, over the past decade or so. If they have an extra person in there now in their ear looking to change, strategy and the way to do things, and has a different outlook and objectives for the club, that might be a bit disruptive. So they probably don't want that. They probably just want to have a full say in the club. But then a loan does have to be paid back, and although we make the money now to confidently feel like we can pay that loan back, it is still a risk. I'm sure that they didn't expect the COVID season to happen, but it did. And that affected how much money we made. So if anything like that happened again, it would have an impact on the club and repaying that loan. So as we know, FSG, they are risk adverse. I think they're going to take the route of less resistance, and puts them at the least amount of risk. Also, then the sale does affect things, because if they're going to take a loan out against the club, it might affect the sale in some way, because the new person coming has got to take on that debt, which they might not want to do. And then it's just an extra thing to consider when trying to transition the club and change hands. So, yeah, I think at the minute it looks like the only way that we're going to be able to get money in, because we don't really have sellable assets, certainly not players that we want to lose anyway. You think about the squad and the players that could leave to generate money, you instantly think of Ali, Salah, and that's about it. And Ali, you could probably demand a real big fee for. Say you broke the transfer record for a goalkeeper and you generated 80, 90 million. It's probably only getting you one or two players anyway, and then you've got to replace that world-class goalkeeper. I don't know how much you sell Salah for now, but again, you probably only get one or two players out of it. So there's not enough value in the squad to sort of generate money from within. So I think them two options is probably the only way they go to getting the funds to replenish the squad, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Spurs owners put 150 million in the club last window from their own pockets. Sort of. I think they took shares out of their company, ENEC, didn't they? To use, if I remember rightly. So
always round, whichever way and only does it, they will want that money back, whether it's a loan against the club or whether
take shares out, whatever it is.
Shares out, whatever it is, you will have to pay that money back. And the only reason that Roman Abramovich didn't was because he was forced to sell that club and time was of essence, and he just had to accept that 1.5 billion pound would just lose effectively. So Chelsea got a what you call it, a Hail Mary or something. They got lucky. Is how you could put it with that, because if it had been a normal situation where Roman thought, I want to sell this club, I don't really want it anymore, the person bringing it on would have had to have paid that money back, and that would have impacted Chelsea. So
yeah, definitely. And look, I'm not the biggest expert in all this money stuff, what comes out. I'm just reading what I've seen. Look, I think I did a video on this last year and I got it wrong about the operating costs and all that. So I've looked at it, and so last year, Liverpool had a net profit of 65 million after all the revenue came in, and then it came out in April, the operating costs. And they put it on the website, don't forget, guys. So Liverpool have to put it on their own website. They have to show what they're making. So it all goes on the website. So just keep a look at it. Not April, guys. We'll have another chat about it. But, I know some people are saying it could be 100, 200 million left over in net profit. Well, if you take the is that before or after the Darwin situation? Because that's going to be up to £100 million transfer. So I'm not sure how it all comes in and when it goes out and what it covers and what period in time it covers, where it breaks. I don't know, but
I don't know about you, Jay, but do you know how much? How we sort of do structured payments over a few years when we sign players in the transfer fees. I'm not sure how many players we're still paying towards actually.
I have no idea.
That's a committed spend, so you'll see that as an outgoing when the financial reports are released.
Well, that'll be a cover, won't it? Usually the way they do the transfers, I think it covers the length of someone's contract, don't it? So if you get someone over a 5-year deal, you're paying their transfer fee over that 5-year deal usually. So depending on how many players we're still paying off on transfers, that's all going to come in, as you say, on the operating side of things, and then wages and things like that. And now there's obviously this news going around. So people have found out some stuff now that, let's get G in the house as well. People have found out some stuff now that, so apparently Liverpool's wage Yeah, big up.
Big up, G. Hi, mate.
Liverpool's wage a year, I believe, is 168 mil. You said earlier, Cav, didn't you? Something like that.
It's about 160 million base. Yeah, so that's just salaries. Yeah.
And FSG are saying it's 300 odd million, right? So there's a big discrepancy there. But the wage that is structured is what I'm reading, what I've read anyway, is their basic, what everyone earns basic with nothing on top of it, no incentives and all that there. So you got to remember, last year Liverpool doing a madness, so went to everything. You know, last day of the Champions League final, 2 cup finals. So the players probably got heavily rewarded for their efforts last year. So again, it's something we're going to have to wait till April when it all comes out with the tax year and everything, and break it down then. Because at the moment we're just going to be guessworking. That's all it is, G, isn't it? We're just guessworking, and we're saying it's this and it's that. People with agendas will say, no, it's definitely this. Don't worry about all that. And it's like, no, let's wait till April and break it down like that. Because at the moment we know we've made 700 million euros. Operating costs haven't put in effect yet. This is not profit. We haven't got 700 million in our back pocket to go out and, you know, spend tomorrow. It's just not the case. And I think a lot of people, not saying they're getting confused, G, but a lot of people are very angry today when they've seen these numbers, ain't they?
I think literally as soon as you said that about the 700 mil, people are not. It's you know, you just got to read it. That's probably like the best way. You just got to. I'm not a financial expert, by the way. Like I'm probably the last person to tell someone about their finances. But if you do read it and you delve into it a bit more, like I read it today, yeah, like you'll start to see and start to understand everything you just said there as well. It's true, man. That's just, you know, it's 700 million euros. That's only what, 590 something million pounds. We haven't, as you said, all the operating costs haven't come out. So wages, we spend so much on wages. Like it's ridiculous, actually, how much this football club spends on wages. And I know everyone always thinks, oh, but we're not spending that much, you know, players on kind of small amounts and stuff like that. But we actually spend probably one of the most, if not the most, I think, or one of the most in the Premier League. But as you said, it's all performance based, a bit like Tottenham. They do the same thing. Theirs is quite performance based. And
if it's performance based, we're gonna be in with the pounds this year, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is it. We're gonna be in the pounds. Which is
ain't no funny. One getting a bonus this year.
and that's what I thought. Like, because I was sitting there, because I was reading. A financial expert was trying to talk it through because they were trying to explain to people exactly what you guys were saying this morning about, you know, this whole how much money Liverpool actually have to spend and blah, blah, blah. And I think you put up a comment about Liverpool might have between 100 and 200 million to spend on transfers, which actually could be true. But the reality is that when you look at something like that, you're looking at it and thinking, oh, that's when, you know, even I then sit there and think, if they do have just that amount, let's just say at the most we've got is 200 million to spend. Do you really want to spend, give or take, 80 to 85% of that on Jude Bellingham, knowing that you've got other areas of the pitch that you probably need to kind of address? So that's what I'm now looking at it thinking, bloody hell, I kind of get where FSG are coming from, because it's really from FSG side of thing, and I ain't backing them. I don't want anyone to think I'm FSG in, or I don't really care either way. But I understand from a business sense, they're basically just an ownership who just don't dip into their own pocket like other clubs or other owners would do. And then you guys just spoke about getting loans and stuff like that. They don't want to do that because they're actually thinking, you know what, that might not even benefit the football club in the long term, because remember, we've got to pay it back. What if we have a bad 2-3 seasons? Can we pay it back? What happens if we can't sell enough players? You know, can we pay it back? Like, there's a lot that goes into just saying, yeah, let's just get a loan and pay this back and pay that back. So in that sense, that's when I look at FSG and say, good job. I mean, you're securing the safety of the football club in that sense, where we are so sustainable and we are doing well at this current moment in time under these kind of conditions. You can't really be mad at that. I think fans are just more mad because the owners just won't dip into their own pocket. But if I was them, I'll be honest, I'll be doing the same thing, because why would you dip into your own pocket when you've got a self-sustainable business? All three of us here, if we had a business in, I don't know, a drinks business, for example, and that drinks business was, you know, self-sustainable and it's getting record revenue for the last 3 years. None of us are dipping into our pocket unless we were trying to maybe branch out and do something different or whatever. Maybe if we had like this season, we had like a bad year, maybe we might think about dipping into our own pockets. But the reality is, why would you dip into your own pocket? So it's like, I get where fans are coming from because I do want them to spend more. Like, I'm not going to get it twisted. I want us to spend more money, but you have to understand it from the business side of things. It's not really viable. It doesn't really make sense because we're already doing well. So it's a catch-22, man.
Do you know what, as well? You raise a good point with that analogy because, like, if you're running a business and that business isn't making enough money to meet its targets, your first solution wouldn't be to pump more money in. It will be to look at your operations and see how you can change things to make it. And I know, and unfortunately, in football, that fans don't like that because ultimately we just want to win. That's what we care about, is winning. But from a business point of view, just throwing money at it is not the answer. You have to look at why that club, based on that revenue, isn't being successful. And you've highlighted a few points. It is because there's players at our club on big salaries that return on investment just isn't there this year. It has been in the past, but it's not this year. So you look at someone like Henderson that's on 150 grand a week plus. You're like, is he worth 150 grand out of the performances you're getting this year? No. You look at Oxlade-Chamberlain, as over 100 grand plus. Is he worth that? No. So this is where we've got to start, trimming some players out that are on big salaries if they're not returning the money. You look at someone like Casado that's on £3,500 a week. You go, Jesus Christ, that's value for money, but that's a bit unique. So I do get FSG's risk averse point of view because when you're talking business, that is what you would do. You would be sensible. And when you're talking a multi-billion pound asset, even more so. And let's face it, they've got us to third on that list pretty organically and pretty by the book as far as we know. So they're ahead of everybody else that's playing fair, and the teams that are around us, not Real Madrid that are above us, but the teams that are around us and beating us to players and beating us to league titles, they're not playing fair. We know this. So that's why fans want certain investors where Liverpool isn't run as it is run as a business, but also as a bit of a showpiece for that person to say they own it, and they're willing to throw money out their own pocket at it because that's all you've got. That's the only solution to remain competitive, isn't it? That's the true tragedy and real state of football. And everyone said it, everyone knows it now, don't they? But if you want to run your club the way you should, build your stadium, expand your training ground, be an attractive proposition, sell as many shirts as you can by having good players and being attractive and having good PR and media and all of this stuff to try and generate revenue, it's still not enough. And that is case in point with Liverpool. They do everything like that so well, and it's still not enough. So that's why people want to sail. And it's a bit of a shame, but that is the state of football, unfortunately.
It is. And this is why it all don't come down to transfer fees either. Transfer fees can be paid in different ways. It's wages, man. It's wages. If you
and look at the players on the wages that we've got, like Van Dijk, Salah. These guys are old as well, so we got to remember
200, 300 grand a week.
It's a lot of money, man. They're not selling these guys, so
no, and they're staying, and also like new players in, so that's why Liverpool look. And this is not any of us sticking up for FSG or anything like that. I think we're all quite clear now that investment is desperately needed into this football club, and if they can't do it, they should move on. It's as simple as that. But we're just it's actually quite nice to have a grown-up Liverpool conversation with no bickering, And I just want to keep it like that. And like with FSG, so none of us are sticking up for them, guys, but we can have a sensible conversation about them. So they've got their model. This is how they build their businesses, and their businesses are successful building by this model. They aren't going to just change overnight because of certain fans or certain parts of our fan base or the Red Sox's fan base and all that wants something different to change. They're just not going to do it. They're just, in the end, either carry on making money and the club money, or they will just move on and sell on. They're not going to change the way they do business. And so you look at the people they want to buy. So they're saying they can't afford Caicedo right now at 70 million for a midfielder. And if you look at it with the operating costs, as I say, we don't know what the operating costs are yet. If the operating costs are like 500 mil, then they can't afford Caicedo. It's as simple as that. And as the guys have already said on the panel, like, you can get loans to buy players. Arsenal did it. They took out a loan 2 years ago for transfers. That was the whole thing of their loan. And their loan will be paid back through success on the pitch, and the revenue costs they receive can back up that loan. FSG won't do that. And that is a problem, because we could. The operating the amount of money Liverpool make now, you know, as I said, £700 million revenue, global club, no debt. You go to a bank, they're going to give you the money. It's no doubt about it. So Liverpool could get 200 million if they wanted to buy players and invest. But FSG don't want to go down that road because it's not their model. It's just not their model. So,
and look, sorry, Jay, just another point, because I see this in the chat, and I see this a lot online, and everybody thinks that if FSG sell, right, and we're bought out by the Qataris or whoever, this and that, right, it's not, there'll be money, yes, because there's evidence there to you know, with the purchases of Man City and Newcastle and stuff, that they'll put in money. It doesn't guarantee anything. You need to have the right staff in place, and we're really underplaying the importance that Michael Edwards had at our club, and how good our recruitment team was for the best part of sort of 3-4 years, at bringing in players that are on the cusp of sort of peaking and putting together a squad alongside Jurgen Klopp in a style that was able to, you know, go and compete, and it was entertaining and all this and that. You can have all the money, but as we've seen with like United for years now, I won't say Chelsea because they do always pick up a trophy, but you can throw money at this and it just not work. Do you know what I mean? So regardless of who the owners are, it's vitally important that they get sort of the right staff in place in terms of the director of football and the recruitment team, because I don't care what a player costs. And we've spoke before about the players that are out there that are now really brilliant players around Europe, and they've been bought for like 10 million or less. And you're just like, how? Well, how is because they have amazing recruitment and scouting teams. So that's got to come in with the ownership as well.
Yeah, you're right. Let me just, is it Mattia? Sheriff, with FSG, we'll win a title every 30 years. Look, I can understand everyone's upset with FSG right now, but look, and you're right to be upset with the ownership because the investment's not there right now. But again, I can't blame them 100% for everything. I think we've got to get, we've got to put bias on side sometimes. Look, Jurgen Klopp is willing. Apparently, the rumours tonight is that Jurgen Klopp wants Bobby Firmino to sign a 2.5-year deal, right? It's all like, and Jurgen's going to the owners. He wants this done. He wants to keep Bobby Firmino. Now, some of us fans actually want Bobby to stay, some don't. But we can't always blame the owners if you've got a manager sometimes that's willing to keep players past their sell-by date. And look, Klopp has a lot of power at his football club. The owners trust him fully. That's why Klopp could have the worst run of all time, and he's never, ever going to be sacked. Yeah? Never going to be sacked. So, yes, they believe in him. They trust him. And as far as FSG are concerned, he's the perfect manager, right? So if he goes to him, Hendo Milner needs to stay, Bobby needs to stay, get the deals done. They've got to do the deals because in their eyes, he's the man. He's the perfect person for them. So they got to do the deal. So we can't always blame the owners, Blame is everywhere in this football club right now. It's not like I love Klopp and what Klopp's done for us as well. Don't get me wrong. But if he's saying he wants Bobby to stay, he wants Hendo to stay, he wants Milner to stay, and the owners give him that money and let him stay and give him new deals, then the blame's on both of them. It ain't just on the company over here. And also with FSG, I know people have been saying in the chat that it's all down to Klopp, this revenue. That's a bit silly, guys, to think like that. Yes, it's down to him, managing the team and bringing us success on the pitch. Also, the owners of Gate and the staff that work with Jurgen Klopp have brought these players in as well. Virgil came in, Alisson came in, Salah came in, Mane came in. It's not like they didn't do a good job. We can't sit here guys and pretend that FSG, didn't get these players in for that Jurgen Klopp use and get the best out of them and bring them success. Yeah, they did. It's a fact, right? Also, on the commercial front, FSG are doing great business behind the scenes. What we don't see, behind the football club. Yeah, maybe not on the pitch so much right now, but behind the scenes, the club is in a great position financially. We're a very strong club off the pitch. Yeah, so you got to give them credit for that. But I can understand everyone's hatred for them right now. Look, I can, because we as fans, we don't care about behind the scenes. We don't care about what new sponsor you got, what you got, what that's going to generate us in a few years' time and stuff like that. We got no debt. That's all great. What we want is 200 million spent every summer. That's what fans want now, because other teams are doing it. And fans, especially Liverpool fans, are scared about being left behind like they were when the Premier League was first brought around. Liverpool got left behind by the money and kept doing things the old school way of the boot room and stuff like that. It took us till the early 2000s to get rid of that boot room, and change our philosophy. It was Gerald Houllier who changed the philosophy at Liverpool Football Club. I think, but I know fans are worried about being stuck in the past. Now you got Newcastle, Man United, City, Chelsea, Arsenal. So I can understand it, but I can't sit here and lie to people and say they haven't done a good job in parts as their ownership guys. I really can't. I can't lie.
The thing is, they could do, whilst you guys were talking, I was just reading about this whole Chelsea thing and why they can spend like so much money and stuff like that. And to be honest, like, Chelsea won't, like, they're fine in terms of the amount. They could probably, I think they could spend another 100 and something million and they still wouldn't even, get into any trouble with the FFP. But it's because obviously they're doing their deals, like, as we know, you pay for the deal, as you said about, you pay for the deal over the length of the contract. So Mudryk was bought for, I think it was like £80 million or something like that, or 60, whatever it was. But he's on an 8.5-year deal. Do you know what I mean? So you're paying it over the 8.5 years. I think it only worked out to be about just under 10 million per year that they're actually spending on his actual transfer fee. So again, you're taking the risk, because if he turns out to be crap in 2 years, it's going to be hard to move someone like that who's on 100 grand a week and stuff like that. So yes, they're taking the risk. And what Cav said before, that's why I was like, yeah, that's quite interesting, because FSG, like, they are quite risk averse. Like they don't want to do how Chelsea are doing it. If that makes, they could easily probably do it like that. We could probably just go out and sign all of these players. But that's why I look at Chelsea, and I've said it 100 times. I like what they are doing. I would love that if my club could do that, because if you look at the types of players that they are actually signing, they're signing really young players. They just signed Madueke today. Another young player. Do you know what I mean? I mean, again, he's going to be on a long deal. Fofana, they signed from Leicester. He's on a long deal. Kukurea on a long deal. So the reality is they can keep spending this money, but it's a risk. We know it is going to be a risk. If they don't win a Premier League or Champions League in like the next 2 years or something like that, it might not work out. But what you will see is that they won't necessarily need to spend that much money in the future anyway. Do you get what I mean? Because they already have these young players set here. We don't, unless things really change with the first team and they might need a few bits, no problem. But I think they themselves are actually looking at it thinking, if we spend big now, we can actually become self-sustainable in the future, because we're already building for that future. So by the time we get to 2, 3, 4 years down the line, we can do almost what Liverpool are doing, which is kind of spend what we earn. But we've got the team already to do that for us. So they'll get there. Obviously, they're just spending crazy now. It looks mad to us now. And that's why I'm looking. It's funny, man. Like, today's actually open. I've never bloody read so much finance in my life. Like, my eyes are starting to blur. Like, and obviously I'm not a financial expert, so I really couldn't tell you anything I'm saying is all factual or anything like that. I can only go based off what I'm reading. But even just all the stuff that I'm reading, you know, in regards to like how things really work and all that kind of stuff, it is an eye opener. And I'll be honest, and don't kill me, and I'm not saying FSG in, but I can understand them a lot more now than I ever did before, as opposed to say, you know, last year or, you know, in the summer, I was like, oh, FSG are this, that, and the other. And I still think that, but at the same time, I am starting to think, you know what? I get it. Like, I actually get why you, what do I like to say, stingy. Like, I can understand why you move so stingy, because why wouldn't you if the club is still doing well? It's only in seasons like this where you start to look at it and think, oh, but things might have to change and etc. So they might need a one summer where they just dip into their own pockets and then try and, do you get what I mean? Like, help us to get back to a certain level, and then they can go back to whatever.
But are they going to dip into their pockets when Julian Ward's on his way out? And you've just had Michael Edwards there for the past 10 years. And if we're led to believe that Jurgen Klopp is having more say in transfers, there's evidence to show that he doesn't always get it right. Do you know what I mean? You know, Mo Salah, the most famous one, when he wanted Brandt and he was advised to get Salah. You know, there's been other situations like that. There's been other situations like that before. I think it's key if FSG are here to stay, that they get that director of football in place. I mean, this is the thing I don't understand is Michael Edwards went, Julian Ward was shadowing him and then stepped into place, and he's now, you know, looking to leave at the end of the season. Why are we still hanging around with him? Why this guy is effectively just on gardening leave for the rest of the season? Like, is he like, and I'm not, he probably is going to be interested and you know, take his job seriously, but even if he does, he's not here for the future. So why not chop him right away? As soon as the minute he says that he's looking to go elsewhere, you know, chop him and get the next person in that is there for the future, and he can have a period of settling and getting things right, because we're going to go into the summer now, and our director of football is not going to be around for that transfer window that's crucial to us. Whereas we could have somebody in now that's spending the next 6 months getting ready for that transfer window. Do you know what I mean? Preparing for it, speaking to Klopp regularly, working out what the future style of football is going to be, the type of profile of player they're going to get. They're going to start getting in his own team for the scouts and things like this. Because the guy will come in, if he's heading up the scouting department, look at the scouts that we've got and go, you were great for when we were looking for this profile of player, but now we're doing things a bit differently. Klopp's a bit more involved, and I've got some of my own personnel that I want to bring in, just so that we're all looking in the same direction and working towards the same goal, but also in the same way. And he can have that settling period before we get to the summer. Whereas now we're just going to get to the summer. Julian Ward's going to leave. Jurgen Klopp's going to have more say. And it could go terribly wrong. FSG could put what money they can into the club, and it could be wasted. Like, there is every chance. Now, we don't know till we get there, but all I'm saying is we're not preparing well to achieve the best success, I don't think. And then just a bit on the Chelsea point, I think you raised a really good point, Gene, that a lot of people are looking at Chelsea spending going, American owners, doesn't understand the sport, don't know what he's doing. And you're dead right. He's buying youngsters, and he's probably spreading the cost over a big period. And if you look at the teams that have been successful in the past few years, it's not just a squad that's been thrown together and gone and won. It's squads that played together for at least a season. So when you think about the Liverpool team that won the title, the core of that squad played together for a year or two, you know, narrowly missed out on Champions League and won Champions League, then went on to win. The Man City team, core of that squad played together and went on to win. You look at the Arsenal team now that's, you know, looking to go and win the league. A core of that squad played together last season. So you can't just throw money at squads and bring a whole host of players in and expect to be successful right away. You actually do need to build and give them time to play together. And the best way to do that is get youngsters together at the same age, at the same kind of period of their career, and give them time to build a team and then, you know, reap the rewards maybe 2-3 years down the line. And look, it is a risk what Chelsea are doing, because if all of these players don't come off, they're probably screwed, because they're going to have to just pull money out of their pockets and throw more at it. But the chances are some of these players are going to bang. They might move on to bigger clubs and they'll recoup some fees there. Or they'll be successful and they'll get the big TV revenue deals and things like that. So it's just a different strategy, but all of them come with their risks. And look, like I say, I go back to the point you made at the start. Fans don't like to hear about being risk adverse, but in business, it's often quite smart to be that way.
You have to be in business, exactly. If you want your business to survive, you know what I mean. You got to be. But look, with Chelsea, I think what is stands out a mile away is the contract length they're giving all these young players. You know what they're doing. They're protecting their value as well, because I think down the line, what Chelsea going to start doing, I think you'll see the spend be a bit less and less than it is right now. What they're doing, they're coming in and just really like putting everything on the plate right now, getting all these players in on young contracts and stuff like that. And what they want to do in the years to come is be more self-sustainable. So these players are on big contracts, got good deals. And like in 2 or 3 years' time, if they've not worked out, they can still protect their asset and they can sell. And if they sell, they can use the money they're making off these players to buy new players. That's what they're doing. That's what Chelsea are doing.
Do you know what else as well, Jay? Is they're eradicating the risk, which a lot of clubs are suffering from now. Prime example of this is so close to home with Liverpool, is that players recognise now if they see out their contracts, they get a huge payday when they get a signing on fee for the next club. So in years gone by, we'd see players sign 2, 3, 4 year deals, right? Maybe 5 tops. 5 was the biggest sort of contract you've seen. But you'd always kind of expect the player to move on before then. And it was the club playing, the buying club paying the selling club and transferring the fees. Whereas you're seeing now players accepting, look, even if I'm not happy here, I'll stick it out for another year, because in a year's time, that transfer fee ain't going from club to club. That transfer fee is going from buying club into my pocket and my agent's pocket for signing on, because they're not paying a transfer fee. So now I can negotiate better for getting a sign-on fee. The selling club doesn't benefit at all. They've lost an asset because he's refused to sign. They're getting no income in the transfer fee. So what Chelsea may be looking at is, I'll hand out an 8-year contract because I'll sell him within that 8 years and recoup some of the money. Or if at the end of the 8 years he decides to leave on a free, well, I've just got 8 years of service.
8 years, yeah, that's a long time.
So it's smart to hand out bigger contracts. And a lot of football fans think it's wild, but I actually think it's quite intelligent to do so. It doesn't matter. If you sell them, you get some of that money back anyway. If you sell them for less, yeah, of course it's a risk, but it's a risk with any transfer. It's a risk of any transfer that you sell for less than what you buy. So what would you do? So sell for less than you bought for, or let them walk on a free? We're experiencing that now. Naby Keita cost us 55 million. He's going to walk for a free. I'd have rather give him an 8-year contract. At least we'd have 2 more years to sell him for 20 million or whatever. It's better business.
I think that's how it might start going down as well in years to come. When people start buying players, I think they're going to be looking at it and thinking, we can't afford to let players leave for free anymore. This is getting mad. So players are all going to be tied down to big contracts. I wouldn't be surprised if it's too long till you see deals for 10 years. Like you see 10-year deals. I think in America you see it all the time, don't you? In big sports.
That's what they do.
They sign massive deals, like 10-year deals. Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing that here, because I think clubs are going to start looking at it and thinking, we are generating so much money now, especially the big teams. We're generating so much money. Let's protect our assets more and sign these people up for big deals a long time. You know, and everyone's going to do it. People will be like, well, they ain't going to want to go for 10 years. But they're going, no, they're not going for 10 years. If they go for 5 years, the club still gets something out of them for 5 years, plus they can sell them on. You know, and not lose money all the time.
They'll get pay rises in that time, but if you do the math, it still works out better.
Look at what Chelsea, like, again, I know we're talking about this is Liverpool, we're talking about Chelsea, but it's just to kind of get people to, because I know people look at that, and I looked at it first, again, this is with no information, and I looked at what they were doing and was like, why can't my owners do, like, I want to spend 400-500 million or whatever it is that they, you know, you get angry as a fan. That's why I get it from the fan side of things, like why they are mad with some of these, with how FSG are, and I'm mad to a certain degree, but you got to understand, like, look what they're even doing behind the scenes. Look at who they're appointing, you know, in the directors boards and the sporting directors and, you know, recruitment teams. Like, they're doing things so that in the future, as Jamie said, they won't need to spend all this money. Unless, obviously, of course, these players, just like Cav said, they don't work out and, you know, they have to sell them. Then, yeah, fair enough. They may need to go and do that. But, you know, when you look at most of them signings, I'm looking at it thinking, I mean, maybe 1 or 2 might not work out, but the rest, as Cav said, they're building a team. so that in the few years they're kind of good and they don't need to spend really any money. It's just about topping up every now and again. When I look at Liverpool, it's maybe it's the manager, I don't know, but Klopp only works with like a certain profile of player. Like I'm not looking at Klopp and thinking, yeah, you know, let's buy all these youngsters, for example, like Chelsea bought about like 4 or 5 teenagers. I can't really see Jurgen Klopp doing that because obviously his deal's going to end in 3 years anyway. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But he wasn't that type of manager. Do you get me? Whereas they probably looked at Graham Potter and thought, maybe if Bowley is serious, unless Chelsea get really crap in the next like 18 months and they just go downhill, if things go according to plan, which I think it will, Graham Potter is the manager they're going to have for the next 10 years because he's going to be the guy who's going to manage your Amari Hutchinsons, your Chucks, your Fofanas that they bought, Mudryk, like when they're in their prime and stuff like that, because he's a good manager at nurturing these kind of players. I've never looked at Klopp and thought, and that's why Klopp is so perfect for the FSG model in itself. But this is why I then say you've got to look at it and think, if that model isn't working, the manager's also not going to work within what he's trying to do. So if that model is starting to fail, the manager's inevitably going to fail anyway. They both go hand in hand. It's not going to be, okay, well, if the model is working brilliantly, Klopp's just going to do shit. No, if the model's doing well, then Klopp's going to do well. If the model's doing shit, then Klopp's going to do shit. So right now, I feel like we're reaching a crossroads, and I actually think next season is actually going to be more pivotal than this season. If we miss out on top 4 this year and next year, that is when we have a serious issue. If FSG are obviously still owners, if they're still here.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to hang on. I'm going to share this. Hang on. An old interview, but John W. occurred a long time ago. Right, hang on. Let me just get this up for everyone. I just found something while you're chatting now. Let's get this up. Right, let's make it a bit bigger. Right.
God, he looks
younger there.
He's younger and a bit slimmer there, doesn't he?
I was saying, how long ago was it?
He's always looked dead though, hasn't he?
I think the first question I have to ask you is, why did you buy Liverpool Football Club? First of all, Mr. Henry, obviously, thanks for taking the time to chat with us today. And I think the first question I have to ask you is, why did you buy Liverpool Football Club?
I love them jokey things. I love them. I thought I'd get everyone. I was watching it when you was like, I was trying not to laugh. I was like, oh, I'm going to play it. Oh, I love that sort of thing.
I think there is, like, just adding to what G said as well, and I don't want to be an absolute like Debbie Downer here, but there is a chance that next season is a bit similar to this season. You know, we talk about transition, right? And we always refer to transition on the pitch, right? The fact that the players are getting old, they've been ran into the ground, we needed fresh legs, especially in the midfield. I get that. There's been such a transition off the pitch, and G's dead right. We always look at Klopp for the stuff that's happening on the pitch, but what happens off the pitch, the recruitment team and the medical team and all these guys, they work hand in hand. You can only truly be successful on the football pitch when the medical team are working well and the recruitment team's working well. And unfortunately, there's been so much change in them departments that we're in a period really of the unknown as to what's going to come. So if Jurgen Klopp could do brilliant, he could get a few players in and he could do all that he can tactically and motivating the players and coaching. But if the recruitment team continue to fail, the new bodies come in continue to fail, and the medical team continue to fail, Liverpool won't win anything. And that's the truth of it. Everybody has to be, performing. And that's not just the Liverpool model. That's just any kind of football model. But Liverpool are strangely changing so many staff. So many people are leaving. I've never quite known it at any other club, to be honest, where there's been so many outgoings from a top club. There's no point worrying about Bury when there was like about to be like,
no disrespect to Bury.
no disrespect if you're a Bury fan watching. I don't think you are here, but do you know what I mean? Like a top club losing its director of football, losing its head of analytics, losing its doctors, sacking all of its medical team and this and that. It's like so much change, and we still got to change people yet, because as I say, one of the most important people is Julian Ward, and his replacement's not in. So it's not as if we're sitting here now going the transition's happened. It's not. We've not even got the people in yet. It's still transitioning, and we don't even know if the people coming in are any good. Because if they're not, we'll be transitioning again next season. It'll just keep going.
I forgot that we don't have a replacement for Julian. You know, it actually slipped my mind. Like, oh shit, we need someone to replace this guy at some point. I thought we had it.
You know, cost cutting measures is what happens sometimes when you sell a club as well. So, you know, it could be, you know, getting rid of, because it's all people in high positions as well in the football club. You know, got important roles at the football club that are leaving. Yeah, I told you, Carol will be the last one here. You know, she'll be
yeah, I mean, you can always rely on good old Carol.
It'll be a VT one day. It will all be greyed out, dark skies, and Carol will just be eating that final meal in the canteen.
Still be here, man.
But this is why we got to look at it and think like, listen, look, who are we? We don't own football clubs, so who knows like how hard it really is to own, you know, a football club as like a business like this. But at the same time, we do need to understand, like with FSG, when they came in under the assumption that FFP regulations and rules would always be upheld. You know, when they bought the football club, and when they obviously realizing that over the years it hasn't been upheld and teams have been able to kind of use loopholes and bypass that. Of course, it has come to a point now where Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, even Tottenham, Manchester United, Manchester City, all of those clubs now, we are competing with them on the football pitch. Forget even the financial side, just on the pitch in itself. And before, we weren't really doing that. It was really just us and City. We were kind of the top two, and it was just, that was about it. So for FSG, they probably just looked at it like and thought, you know what? If we're only competing with one team in this league, they didn't know that Newcastle were going to get bought. They didn't think Arsenal would spend the type of money that they're spending at this current moment in time. You didn't think United would actually be in a position where they are in now. You didn't think Newcastle would have, you know what I mean? Like all of these things started to happen over the last couple of years that now I do get why they're in a position where they think, yeah, we can't really do what everyone else is doing because we were competing with one or two teams before. We're competing with six now. Those six teams are also going to be more attractive to other clubs, to other players and stuff like that. It's not a level playing field like anymore. We can't really go out there and do what we normally used to do in terms of trying to get players and speaking to certain players and things like that. So for me, I just look at it like this. There's going to need to be a big change in the summer, or there's going to be need to be a quick transition in the summer. What Cav was saying about, you know, Julian Ward is leaving. We need someone in. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we need someone in pretty soon. But if we don't get someone in, and then we're relying on Jurgen Klopp and his recruitment kind of team to actually, you know, sort things out, you know, in terms of the recruitment sense, then we're in a position whereby it's like things might look rocky. I'll be honest with you, because Cav said it there. Remember Julian Brandt, and that's just one example, but there are other examples, but that's just the biggest one. Is that where Liverpool want to be going? Is that going to lead to any level of success for the club moving forward? I don't really think so. So yes, we need new owners, and it'll be great to have some new owners or just some cash injection. But if we don't get it, we've just got to get used to the fact that we're going to still need to live by FSG rules. And we're going to need to get back to what we were doing and what made us so good in the first place. But maybe the strategy just might need to be tweaked. Maybe put a bit more, you know what I mean? Like maybe we start just looking at younger players, like really like real young players, like your Carvalhos and stuff like that. Maybe we go down that kind of route so that in 3 years' time, when Klopp leaves, whoever that new manager is can kind of, do you get what I mean, come in and do whatever. I don't know, because you cannot spend this type of money on Jude. Like in my mind now, I'm looking at it thinking this is a bad deal. Like people say, yes, it will be value for money, but it's not going to be value for the club. It's not going to be value for the team in the next few years if you're spending, give or take, 85% of our actual budget on one guy. And then what happens next season? Because Bellingham coming in, I still feel like we'd finish whatever position we finish this season is the same position I think we'll finish if we only sign Bellingham in the summer. So then what do? We're in a catch-22 unless you're selling Salah, Trent, Alisson or Van Dijk or someone like that to then generate some more funds. I feel like we're kind of tumbling at the moment, and I feel like we're tumbling down this hill, and it doesn't look like a stop is coming anytime soon. So it's a crazy one.
Yeah, gee, you're right, my man. Big up Froggy. 99%
Froggy.
of clubs run on mortgage. We have a fresh freehold property that rents on a few rooms to generate money. FFP in a nutshell. For those wondering, there you go. Yeah, all the FFP stuff. Look, I'm not going to lie. I only know little bits about his financial world. You know, I'm trying to get Mo Charter on the show.
Oh, yeah, he's good. I love it.
I can really break it down with him now.
I've spoken to Mo a few times. He's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows more about this world than I do. So then probably we all do. So it's easier for get someone who knows a bit more about it. But we can only go by what we've read. You know, what we looked at, deep in
how we interpret it, so
diving into stuff and all that. But more of this will come out, guys, in April. More of this will come out in April when our operating costs come out. Then we can really see where the money's gone.
We're going to do a show. We're going to get the reports up, and we're going to go line by line, and we'll be here all night if we have to.
It's going to be a man.
Googling, what does this mean?
It's going to happen.
That's the first thing I was thinking.
We'll read something, and then 18 million on some new boots, and look, what's that then?
Absolute full breakdown once and for all. Get it all done. But yeah, talking about transfers, there was a nice segue into another story today, guys. Ruben Neves. So this story is getting there's a bit more stuff into this story now. So apparently Liverpool willing to bring in Ruben Neves late in the January transfer window, as long as Wolves have got a replacement ready made for him. Wolves are trying to get a transfer through for the fella from, is it Brazil? They're trying to get done. If that can get done before the deadline day, apparently Liverpool go in for Ruben Neves, guys. Now, he's got a year left in his deal, so it's a cut price deal. What do we reckon on Ruben Neves? If this does become reality, it all depending on Wolves, though, apparently, getting the players in they need to replace him this month. Which looks like, because I did wonder why they were getting another midfielder in, with all the midfielders they got lately.
Can someone, before we head into that, can someone explain their homegrown thing? I feel like they have never bought an English player in like the last 5 years.
I'm going to Google it while you guys talk about it. I'll Google it.
Yeah, like, I just feel like they bought a lot of Portuguese, Spanish. Like, I've never seen an English player just arrive here, but maybe
do you think they registered the club in Portugal or something? Like,
bro, they must do, because there's no way that they've been able to get this amount of play. Like, they bought the guy from PSG, I think it was the other day, and then they're looking at this guy from Brazil. I mean, I couldn't even name you an English player in their team.
They got Sarabia now. They're getting Sarabia.
Yeah, that's it.
It's Spanish, isn't it? Yeah.
Spanish, but I mean, they let Morgan Gibbs White go. He's English. Like, I mean, where are you getting this homegrown? Unless they're not registering a full quota of a squad. Like, I think you got to register like 25-man squad. Maybe they're completely under, so that they don't need to have so many homegrown players in that actual. Which would make sense.
Their homegrown players are John Ruddy, Matija Sarkic, who was in goal against us the other day.
Oh, so two keepers homegrown then.
Connor Cody, Max Kilman.
But he's on loan though.
But still in the league registration,
Max Kilman. I'm trying to look at who else there is. Luke Cundell.
It's basically other than Connor Cody, it's basically 8 players that you wouldn't really think of. You know,
as far as I can see, they got 5.
Yeah.
All right, they got 4 out of. So the homegrown player limit is 8, and they got 4. They got 4.
Well, how big's it? They can't register a 23-man squad.
Yeah, they can't register a full squad. That's what I'm thinking. Then
we haven't got a full homegrown list either.
Yeah, I know.
We've got 7 homegrown players in a 23-man squad.
Yeah.
Because if you register 8, you can have a 25-man squad.
Yeah, they might not have a 25-man squad though. That's the thing.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's why
if I said to you now, name as many Wolves players as you can, I could probably get to like 15. So
Let me have a
In
look. Let me
fairness,
have a
there's
look.
probably 7 or 8 there that we won't think of. That probably.
That
So
wouldn't
they
be-
got
Yeah.
their forwards: Raul Jimenez, Tarinko, is it? Daniel
Trincao.
Podence, Huang Chi Chan, is it? I can't remember
Yeah.
that. If
No,
I've said
they're
that
not
wrong, Neto,
Not
and
English. Not Homegrown, sorry.
and then they got senior under 21 players that I am not going to pronounce. Nora is one of them. Luke Cundle, who counts as homegrown, is one of them. Fabio Silva. So their squad, they got 21 players in their 25 squad.
That's
They got
why.
21 players.
So they've registered less homegrown. Yeah, okay, fair.
And overseas players is 17 out of the 17 max.
Yeah, I'm literally just looking at it now. They got
Yeah.
in it, man.
So, and they've only got 4 homegrown. So that's and they're getting another Brazilian guy in. So that tells me if they got 17 out of 17 out of their overseas players already registered, that means they need to get rid of one.
So Ruben Neves would make sense.
Yeah. So that means they need to get rid of Ruben Neves. Why the Ruben Neves rumours are hotting up?
But thinking about Ruben Neves and his importance to Wolves, I mean, what's Wolves' target this season? Because first and foremost, they've got to make sure they don't get relegated, which I don't think they're really risk at. But they
I think
have
mid-table. I would say get mid-table. Get mid-table.
14th.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think for the remainder of the season because we are in January. So I'll tell you what, let me get the league up whilst we talk about this.
They're 16.
Because this is always the argument with January transfers, isn't it? It's not the fact that you want the player, it's the importance to the club that they're already at, you know. And he is a big player for them, you know, he's important. So they currently sit 16th. They're 2 points off the relegation zone.
Fucking.
Are they going to want to lose Ruben Neves?
They might feel they have enough without him to at least stay up and then just build from there.
I mean, they probably got better midfielders than Ruben Neves in there, to be fair.
I mean, they got good midfielders.
Jean Martino, Mateus Nunes. Who else do they have in there?
They got.
I don't think they're Ruben Neves though.
Ruben Neves, João Martinho, Dendoncker, Shabina. They got that player that's just come in from PSG as well, ain't they?
Dendoncker's on loan, I think.
Yeah,
Dendoncker's gone on loan. Who's that geezer they got on? Who they just
Sarabia
from PSG.
I don't think any of them are as good as Nunes.
They're getting this fella for 18 million from that Brazilian club that's coming in. So they have to release someone. Or they got too many overseas players. So I think that's why the Neves thing's hotting up. Liverpool are waiting for Wolves to get a player in before they get him. But the thing is, though, Neves has only got a year left in his deal, so they might feel like it's best to might get money in for him instead of letting go for a free. So, what do we think about Neves, guys? What do we think about him if we do get him in? Go on, G. What do we reckon? If we get Neves in this winter, this January, Premier League proven, technically a very good footballer. To show a thing that Klopp might be moving away from the way we've been playing for the last few years to a more technical possession-based midfield.
Yeah, I think he would have to, man. He couldn't do the whole pressing thing anymore. He'd have to start. We'd have to turn into a team who actually play with a deep line playmaker now, and that's what he is. He's a deep line playmaker. Like I know Thiago is as well, but he really is a deep line playmaker. Like this guy can pick out a pass. And why, obviously, people were like, yeah, but Trent can do that. I was like, yeah, the problem you've got with Trent is a defender who plays on the wide areas.
He's
so
from angles.
It's all angles, the type of passes. You're talking about a guy who can pick the ball up from anywhere and ping this ball, but obviously mostly from central positions. Like some of the passing he was doing against us the other day, I was like, first of all, how did you even think to get that pass off? But it's not even that. It's the fact that because you're able to do it, it gives us a different dimension. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is going to be key moving forward. And I think that Klopp now, maybe that maybe that Wolves game made him rethink. Maybe he saw something that just made him think, you know what, this might actually work out better than I thought it would. Because he could play in a midfield with a Thiago and Keita, for example. Do you know what I mean? Because you'd have Thiago and Keita kind of doing the whatever kind of work you want to say, like the eights kind of role. And he could just be that deep line playmaker, picking up the ball, popping it off, moving the ball around, and he's almost like a quarterback. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that would actually be quite beneficial to us if Klopp is going to play that way. So it just depends on what Klopp wants to do. But I like him. If you can get a good deal for him, I've always liked it. Since his Porto days, I've always thought he's a good player.
Yeah, same. Cav, your opinions on it?
Well, I think let's state the obvious, because I think a lot of people in the chat have said it. He's not particularly quick. I think that much is true. So either you move away from the full pressing system and look to have a more technical team, one that retains the ball better, looks to control the game, shorter passing, slow, sort of slightly slower build up from the back, a bit more like how Man City do it, if you like. And Ruben Neves would fit that style because he's such a good passer of the ball. He's quite aggressive in the challenge as well, can shoot from range, and putting a player into our kind of midfield would help keep the control. Or you go the other way and you fully commit to the press, and you aim to compact the pitch so much so that players aren't doing so much running because they're only playing in one half of the pitch. The running that they are doing is short sprints, not long strides that we're seeing Firmino doing when he's trying to tackle a man, but he's having to run the length of the pitch before he gets to it because there's so much space. So it could work one or two ways stylistically. I think as a player, he's got a really good attitude. Every time I've seen Wolves, he always looks like a real competitor, a real fighter in that midfield. He's pretty dogged. And I think I'm right in saying he played in the Championship as well for Wolves, I think, as well. So he's, that gives you
from Champions League to Championship. I was like, what the hell is this? Yeah,
that's good. It's really good. It's really good to have in your on your resume though if you played in the Championship, because it's a tough league but it's different stylistically, and you get battered and bruised in that league. So he's sort of war hardened, if you like. We've got to think about life after Thiago as well, because he's not getting any younger. And once he goes, we do lose a large element of our ball controllers in midfield. So maybe, I'm not saying he is the replacement. I'm not saying he is like Thiago, because he's not. But he's more that way. That he's more that way in terms of controlling the ball, looking for it deep, looking to spread passes, balls around the corner, and just keeps calm on the ball and takes care of his passing. His long range passing, you said it, G, the other night. I mean, if it weren't Traore at the end of them and it was an actual player that can play football and cross the ball or shoot, Jesus Christ, because it was, especially in the second half when they're trying to get back into the game, every single ping was on the money. Like, it was incredible. And yes, Trent can do it, but you guys are dead right. The angles are different from a right back to a six, So we see Virgil do it. He'll do it from similar kind of positions to what Neves would. But it's still a good option to have. I think for a 25-year-old, he's got really good experience already.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah, feels like he's been around for ages, doesn't it?
He's the Liverpool age. 25 is a Liverpool age. And I know a lot of people are saying he's too slow. He outrun our midfield last week, guys. So he's quicker on what we got. So, look, what I mean?
We can play the game, can suit him in a way, man. You never know.
Yeah, speed can quite often be overstated as well. Like, you do need speed, but as long as your positioning and reading of the game is good and your passing is clean, you can make up for not having speed.
Remember, Thiago is one of the slowest players in the team. I don't see a problem with Thiago.
Exactly. Fabinho weren't even quick.
Exactly.
No, but you look at Thiago, he is very slow, yeah. But does he look slow when he's on the ball? When he's moving around the pitch, he looks quick. I
still think he's like Iniesta. They're still slow on the ball. It's just the movement that they're doing is quick movement. Like, he does a lot of shimmies, he does a lot of stepovers. So one action gets you away.
That gives you a yard.
That builds you the yard. So it looks like he is obviously a bit quicker. But
people think of like that scenario where like you take a corner kick and like the opposition's like won it and they're running the length of the pitch and you're looking at all your players that are like fucking half the speed as the attackers, and you're like, okay, but you do know that you shouldn't be in that situation. So when is speed important? Speed is important when you're going in for challenges and you need to get there first of the ball. It's being there ready to win a 50-50 in the air or a ground duel. It's making sure you get on the end of passes if you're a forward or a winger. In midfield, but this is what I'm saying, if you're an intelligent footballer
It's different.
You're positioning right. You're reading if the game's right. You recognize where your players are and who they're pressing and their body positioning, and you tailor your position to suit. Then you can make up for a lack of speed. And he's not. I don't think he's a snail. I just think
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
quick,
he's quicker than Fabinho and Thiago. There's no doubt about that. But for a midfielder, what you have to be quick over 5 yards. It's all you need, ain't it? It's 5 yards. It's not like a forward. You want your forwards to be quick to break away from centre backs, don't you? And run 20 and 30 yards. That's what you want in your forwards. So you want that pace. But you put them in midfield, what do you want? Someone who can just move over 5 to 10 yards. That's all you need. Yeah. So, Neves, I think, makes sense, man. And the way I think Klopp does want to move into that more techie sort of like technical, but still power in the midfield. I think that's why he's looking at a Bellingham as well, who's technically good, but also got power in the midfield. So he's looking for a bit of both, where we just had power before and, workhorse there. I think he's looking to move it on a little bit and be a bit more techie there.
If you watch Man City, they will have moments in games where they're relentless attacking and they have that power and they just attack. And it looks like they're working so hard. But then once they get the lead, not so much this season, but especially last season, we all said it. Once they get the lead, you switch off the game because they've got such good technical players that look after the ball. They'll just kill you with the passing. Quite often they're just probing and they'll maybe go forward and commit an extra man and stuff when an opportunity arises. But they're concentrating more on just not losing the ball. And so it gives you that ability to do so. And if you can do that, and you're right, Jamie, you can flip between having the attacking, relentless, powerful pressing and attack to then a ball playing team that can just look after it. You can control games more and then control fitness. You know what I mean? Not every game has to be like fucking relentless for 90 minutes. So you're dead.
That's
right.
why we're burning out now in these second halves. If you're watching, like we just look tired every second half. It's like we've got to learn how to manage these games a bit better as well, man.
I think would be smart to move to that style of football. Easier said than done, I know, with the amount of more games that players are going to play. So you think about the expansion of the Club World Cup, the expansion of the Champions League, the potential of a World Cup being every 2 years. Players are being asked to play more and more football. So that high octane football, it can, as we've seen, it can be very successful, but for short periods. And then you really have to freshen up your squad, or you have to try and go to a more controlled game.
Yeah, exactly. I got a thing about homegrown, so I got this up. Let me just put it up for you guys. So these are the homegrown players Liverpool can list next season. So there's the players Liverpool can list next season. So Curtis Jones, Seth van der Berg, Leighton Clarkson, Reece Williams, Jack Kane, Jaros, Galazio, Burns it, and I can't pronounce that bottom name. But they're the players Liverpool can actually register. I don't know. Liverpool is a youth player. So they're the players Liverpool can actually put down as homegrown next season. Now, if you've got that, guys, as your registered homegrown, it moves away so we can get players like Matheus Nunes in the door in the summer, who's obviously not homegrown, and not have it affect us because, we know we're leaving. Because a lot of people have been talking about it. Ox is leaving, Milner's leaving. These homegrown players are leaving the football club that we need to replace. So if we can replace them with them players and put them down as homegrown, we haven't got to replace them in the transfer market with other homegrown footballers, which is good because then we can go out and buy like a Matheus Nunes for our midfield without having to worry about the homegrown quota. I don't know what you guys think on that. There's a list once again.
Well, that list is the keyword being new homegrown players. So that's why you're not seeing the likes of Trent in there. And
they're all under 21 just now, but they're all going to be of an age next season.
These are the youngsters that will qualify for the homegrown quota next season. So you're dead right, Jamie. If the likes of Ox and Milner leave, Kelleher leaves, that's 3 homegrown players gone. If Gomez decides he wants to play elsewhere, that's a 4th gone. Nat Phillips, that'll be a 5th gone. So you are going to need to look to get these homegrown players in. And I've said it before, if you're trying to get quality players that are also homegrown in the market, it's very difficult. So we might have to look to promote these youngsters into that homegrown spot. And then, like you say, get the quality signings in that we need, replacing the players that aren't homegrown at the minute, so to speak. So Arthur Melo isn't homegrown. He'll go, frees up a spot so we can sign someone that's also not homegrown.
Didn't Jake Kane leave?
Yeah, it's been sold, yeah.
Yeah, I saw him get sold. I mean, it just depends on how they do it, because other than Jones, the top four that you had there, Jones, Clarkson, Reece Williams, Seth Vandenberg.
Yeah, them
none
forward.
of the rest, none of them are going to be in that first. Like, they're not going to be labeled as first team players. I reckon we get rid of all of them or loan them out, to be honest. Because otherwise, even then, the top two I'm even looking, and even then, it just depends on Clarkson. I was just looking at, because depending on how many midfielders we let go, and if we look to buy that many, I mean, it just depends. Honestly, it just depends on how the club want to do it. This allows us, as you said, to then get in. If we're looking at more European talents who are not homegrown, as you said, we can do it now. Your Nunes, Caicedo, if we wanted, So it just depends on who we're trying to sign. But we might go out there and sign like a Mason Mount, or as well as a Jude. So then you've already got your two midfielders. So then if you get like a Neves now, for example, you kind of got your midfield that without ever really having to worry about the homegrown, because you're getting in two homegrown players anyway. Does Jude count as homegrown, right? He doesn't.
Yeah, Jude will.
Yeah. It depends.
It was at Birmingham. It was at Birmingham.
He was at Birmingham from the ages of 13 or whatever it is. 16,
yeah.
But I don't know if you get the choice, because he'll technically be under 21, I think, if he comes next season, because he's 19 right now, isn't
How old is he not? Yeah, he won't count as homegrown for a couple of years.
But I don't know. We'll maybe have to have a look at this after the show, whether if a player is under 21, you can put them as a homegrown. I'm not sure, because quite often, if you've got a homegrown quota, the under 21s, you don't have to register, so you wouldn't. But if you flip it and say, well, he is under 21, but I want to register him as homegrown, you might be able to. I don't know. So I'd have to look. I don't think you can, to be honest. Don't think you can.
That's a good question. I wonder how that would work. How long has he been in Germany for? Like 3 years.
Since 2016.
Fucking hell, since he was there 3 years. 3 years. So yeah, that's actually quite interesting, because he would have spent 16 to 19, 20 in Germany, technically.
Do you know what? We might need to check this, and if the guys in the chat know, do help us out with this one. I read something a while back that he's not homegrown because he left too early. He's been in Germany because technically footballers can join academies at like fucking 5 years old. So by the time they're 8, they're homegrown. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I know it's under 18, 3 years for under 18, but I don't know what the minimum threshold is. So I'm guessing the minimum's like maybe 15, 16.
Yeah.
When you can start to register these years as being trained by a club in England. And then once you've got to the 3 years of being trained, you qualify as homegrown. But because otherwise you just sign a load of 10-year-olds, wouldn't you? By the time you get to 16, it's not a problem despite what happens. Yeah. So.
Yeah, someone let us know. That was someone IBR Stella. That's because I was wondering about that Musa guy. I was like, so then would he be classed as homegrown then? Because he was at Arsenal Academy, but then moved to Valencia at a young age, and he's been there now for probably at the same time as Bellingham has been at bloody thing. So that's actually
I like him as well, Yunus Munzer,
bro.
Yeah,
Jesus, like if we signed him, I feel like him and a Jude in the same midfield. I think like we'd have a really, really solid midfield pairing, alongside having like a really good ball playing defensive midfielder. That's the kind of way I want us to kind of move to. That's the kind of play I would love us to get, because then you got your 2 8s who are both energetic but are technically sound, and then you've got your deep line playmaker, the guy who's just like a bit like a Rodri, but just a better baller, like better ball playing player kind of thing. Even though I think Rodri's really, really good, but having someone like that in your team, I think would be kind of solid. Don't know who that would be though, but
right, I found it out. So about Jude. So according to the Premier League rules, a homegrown player means a player who represents a nationality or age and has been registered with a club affiliated with the Football Association or Football Association of Wales for a period, continuous or not, of 3 entire seasons or 36 months before his 21st birthday, or the end of the season during which he turns 21. Joining Birmingham City's Youth Academy in 2010 and remaining to the club until his £25 million transfer to Dortmund in 2020 when he was 17 years old. Bellingham ticks all the Premier League boxes as a result. So, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, UEFA rules and Champions League and Europa League and Conference League are a little different. UEFA rules require clubs to register at least 8 locally trained players in their 25-man squads, with no more than 4 of them allowed to be associated trained players. As a result, a club are required to name at least 4 club-trained players if you wish to name a full squad in UEFA competition. Now 19, Bellingham is too old to be classified as club-trained player with an English club, as they need to be a club on the club's books for 3 years between the ages of 15 and 21. However, he could be counted as an associated trainer. There you go.
So that's why we would have like a Jones and Trent. So that's 2 already for us.
Yeah.
Who's the other 2 then?
So yeah, so Bellingham. Yeah, it's homegrown, so it's not a worry there.
Hold on, if we sign Neves, wouldn't we have to let someone go though?
Well, there's a certain player on loan that's never going to play. It just needs to be registered.
He's not even the one I'm thinking of though. It was actually Adrian. I feel like we'd probably just deregister him.
Adrian or Melo, we just take their registration away. I
mean, deregister both. I mean,
or Bobby don't sign that contract, but I ain't ready to consider that.
Anything can happen. We're only in 19, wherever it is.
Do you know what? It's gonna be a sad day when Bobby goes. It's gonna be a sad day.
Well, he's getting a 2.5-year deal by the sound of it, so he ain't going nowhere for a while.
That's it. Keep pushing it down the line. I'm not ready for it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Carvalho counts as homegrown, yeah.
Oh yeah,
he will do. Yeah, same with Elliot. He will as well.
Yeah, Elliot as well.
That's not next season. That'll be season after.
Yeah, because Curtis Jones turns 22 in October of next season. So yeah, it'll be counted as homegrown.
No, I think his birthday's in May.
Is it October? Is it May? I thought it was October.
I think it's soon. I think he turns 22 soon. Yeah, I think
God, if he's turning 22 soon, gee. Bloody hell, mate. You're 22 and you're still... How long has he been in the first team for? 4 years. 4 seasons. No, since we won the league. 1920, 2021.
Oh, no, he was born the 30th of January. Yeah, so it'd be 22 at the end of the month.
His birthday's coming up real soon.
Yeah. He's born
I knew it was soon, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be okay with Bobby getting a new deal, man. I mean, I'm all right with it because I'm not bothered by the Bobby. The Bobby one don't bother me. I know a lot of people.
Bobby don't bother me.
But it don't really. That deal don't bother me so much because I do feel he still does a job when he plays. You know, there's players in his club getting new contracts that probably no. If I had to pick a new contract, Curtis Jones or Bobby Firmino, I'll probably go Bobby because he's given me something. Still, you know, I mean, he's still our top goal scorer in the league.
Name a better 6th choice forward.
That is the problem. He's going to be 6th choice.
But this is what I'm saying. It's like I wouldn't look at Bob. Like, listen, I like Bobby. I've always liked him, and I respect everything that he's done because he's done like the doggy work. Do you know what I mean? For other players to shine and stuff like that. So I've always respected him. But I just think like we're looking at this whole club situation and the owners and. You know, we're moving into like a new era. I'm not looking at Bobby right now and thinking, as you said, he's 6th choice. Like, I'd rather just let that kind of guy go. Like, I'd actually rather just sell him because we could get something for him now. Because you're almost wasting a spot in the team, and on top of that, you're then stopping development for players like Ben Doak, for example. Unless you're going to loan him out, it's like there's a lot that goes around someone like a Bobby. Yes, having him there, if we get the kind of injuries that we always get. Keep Bobby. Do you know what I mean? You just keep it. But then at the same time, I'm looking at it thinking, I don't know, man. Like we could have easily used this spot for something else, someone else. Like we're talking about all this homegrown stuff. We're talking about trying to get players off the books almost so that we can get players on the books where we can move forward. I feel like Bobby is one of those. I wouldn't sign him for 2 years. Like I'll give him like another year at most. and that's just more as like a real backup if anything was to happen. But then we need to be moving on from this, man, because we're not even going to play his style of football anymore. Bobby's going to actually just become a useless guy because we're not playing that way anymore. If we're moving into this whole, as Jamie said, this techie type of technical, whatever it is, we don't need Bobby anymore because we need to move away from that. We have to move away from that. So if you keep him, I just feel like we don't need to. It's something you're just holding on. Like, don't hold on to. Like, we've got so many 30-year-olds just sitting here. It's like a pension club, man. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I'm too sentimental over Bobby. I would say that.
I'm the same.
I'm say it now. I'm too sentimental. You know, I'm like, I can't take it off.
No, but the thing, no, it's not. You could be sentimental. Like, there's not. Listen, look, Bobby's not like a. He's been a servant, but then it's that sentimentality that will kill you in the long run. Do you know what I mean? Like, because then if we got that for Bobby, you're gonna have it for Hendo, you're gonna have it for Van Dijk, you're gonna have it for something like. Where does it ever actually end? Meaning the club is never improving.
No, Bobby was first. Bobby was first. He's different.
No, Henderson. Like, you still got Henderson. You still got all of these other players who are still here.
I hear you.
Yeah, I mean,
I hear you, but
I'm not saying you just kick the guy out. Obviously, there has to be respect given, and I do respect him. This isn't like Origi, who I hated from the moment he came in. We're talking about Bobby. Like, this is a guy who was so integral to, you know what I mean, like us winning. But now I'm like, yeah, okay, you've done what you needed to do. Like, it's a bit like Klopp. I actually look at them the same way. You've done the job I needed you to do. You're not going to do any more than that. You can't go any further than what you've done. Let's not live long enough to become the villain type of player anymore. Like, let's kind of just, and then we move on. But that's just my preference. This is why if we got a new manager in, he wouldn't stand for this stuff. But it is what it is, man.
No, look, guys. I mean, the Firmino can fuck off, but the Bobby one can the Bobby one splits. I think it actually splits a lot of the fans. Even some people in the chat are like, I want to keep him. No, I want him to go. I think he's just that kind of
guys.
player.
Don't be so bloody sentimental, man.
We just all love him. That's it. We all just love him.
I think though, in terms of what he gives you, I think that if Núñez, Diaz, and Salah are your starting three, and then you have behind that Gakpo and Jota and Doak, I don't see the issue with keeping Firmino around. No, I do hear the point of if he takes up a spot, I get that. Then yeah, if you're trying to bring a player in that's going to help the squad elsewhere, defense or midfield, and you need to free up a spot, I do get that. You know, you might have to take Bobby out, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if at some point next season we have Diaz, Jota back, and that front three we look at and go, we still need a facilitator, and for some reason it shouldn't be the case. But it might be the case that you have to play Bobby as the false nine.
Gakpo's going to be that eventually. Me and G spoke about it the other day.
Maybe.
I think he's the link. He's going to be that Bobby replacement. They're going to give him time. He's that link player. Why do
I have this thing about Diaz? I keep thinking about this all the time. Like, I feel like we're not going to keep Diaz as long as we think. I don't see Diaz as a long-term player like this. I don't know what it is that I know people going to say I'm hating on it, but it's something about Diaz does not scream Liverpool, and I feel like we would let him go soon, depending on a few factors.
He feels Barcelona bound to me. I don't know why.
Like I get that kind of.
I think there's got to be someone in our forward line who does leave in the summer. I do think someone's going to leave in the summer. I just feel we have too much there. I think the club will look at it as well and think, Jesus, we have got a lot up top. You know, we're starting to look like Katie Price. Jesus.
Katie Price, fucking
honestly, big up to you. Off topic, have you guys seen that Elise free kick? I have. What I loved about it is the non-celebration after. I love that kid.
Although he I seen the quote, and I'm pretty sure I heard Balotelli say it before, so I'm a bit like, props for not celebrating and giving it.
What was the quote?
The quote is like recycled, so I'm not really. He was like, I don't celebrate goals because that's what my job is to do. You don't congratulate a postman when he delivers your parcels or something like that. I think I've heard that from Balotelli before. You know,
that's a bit like what a miserable fucker. Enjoy, enjoy.
No, but at the same time, if that's just like you as a personality, like if that's just how you are as an
Do you know
individual,
what?
Enjoy.
If you're looking at homegrown, I would be looking towards Palace. I like
but I said
Elise.
it like Elise
I like
is
Eze.
such a great
Elise's
player.
a baller, man. But
Eze as well.
I think
Eze,
I think Eze's good, but I think Elise is just that little bit.
looking at
more
right
special.
wing, we might need someone who I feel like if you got someone, obviously my actual pick would be if we could get Saka, but that is never going to happen. So obviously I'm trying to look a bit further down that pecking order.
Hey, never
And when
say
you look at
never.
someone like,
It's not signing that deal.
you know what? You're right. If we got the money,
It'll be Man City. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I also think that too.
Oh yeah, Saka. If Saka ever left Arsenal, he's Man City bound.
He's Man City. He just
doubt about
for
it.
some reason that Pep would just go and get him.
At least he ain't far behind him, by the way. If you get him playing properly, at least he ain't far behind.
But this is what I'm saying. I feel like Elise right now would move to a top club like Liverpool and not mind so much about sitting on the bench and having to play minutes here and there, because I feel like he would grow because he's so young anyway. You know what I mean? I feel like he could grow into that role. And it's not like Salah's got like 7 years left. Do you get what I mean? Like, I feel like he's got a season or two at a very, very good level. And then he's going to drop. And Elise, if you're already there, you come straight. Like, I've always thought we need to sign someone like an Elise. Like, I'd rather him. Obviously, we've got Ben Doak there, and I respect it. But if you ask me to pick between Ben Doak, Elise, and Harvey Elliott, I'm going Elise every single time.
Oh, yeah.
You could still have Harvey Elliott and or a Ben Doak in those positions because Salah's going to leave. So whoever becomes the main man on that right-hand side, you need your backup players regardless. So I can't see why you wouldn't, you know what I mean? We don't get in for someone like him. And it just, for me, it just makes so much sense. Because then it's homegrown, ain't got to worry. If not him, then get Sane.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Being honest, am I the only one who rates Eze? And no, we all rate him, man.
No,
we all rate him. We all rate him.
Brilliant
I think Elise would cost you up to 100 mil, though.
Yeah, both of them will be. Both of them will be.
You think so?
I think Palace held that.
50 million, 60 million, you're good to go.
Well, look how much Palace held out. Look how much Palace held out for Zaha, and no one ever met that fee. And Elise is probably going to be better, and he's younger. And with the way transfers are now, I mean, they'll be looking. If Chelsea came in for him, they'd be like, right, that's 100 million because we know how much you're spending like mad. You know what I mean? Depends on the circumstance, probably, but yeah, I can see it being the case. Nothing less than 50, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. So guys, we are going to leave it there. Thanks for everyone tuning in tonight. As always, we do appreciate it. Yeah, the Man City Tottenham game's on in a minute, so I'll let everyone go and watch that game.
Got to head out as well, bloody hell.
You know, Spurs are winning that when Liverpool ain't challenging City for the league. By the way,
Who's at home? Tottenham or City?
I can't remember actually. Do you know?
No, Spurs usually get Spurs. What's the question? Sorry.
Who's at home? Who's playing at home today?
I think City. I think is it City?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
It's going to be a decent game, guys. It's going to be a decent game. Go and watch that. I'll be back tomorrow, guys, at 12:30 with Liverpool-Chelsea preview. Liverpool-Chelsea preview at 12:30, picking the team. Should be a fun one, so make sure you join us then at 12:30, guys. Till then, enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the football. See you tomorrow, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.